Well, Becca already gave a pretty great overview of today's session, so I won't talk too much about here. One thing I did want to highlight is we are talking about this in relation to the year, end of the year, but everything Rodrigo and I do say here can be applied really any time of the year. It doesn't have to be just for the end of the year, but we just thought it would be a nice way to tie in the fact that the end of the year is coming, which is kind of scary because it still feels like January. So just as a brief agenda, we will start with making rewards meaningful. And then we're going to talk more about celebrating the successes of 2024. So we're going to get lots of juicy ideas of different reward ideas you can bring into your program. And then we are going to talk at the end about refreshing your program for 2025. So I'm going to pass it over to Rodrigo to kick us off for how to make our rewards meaningful.
Thanks, Jess. So, of course, if you really want this to be successful, rewards need to be meaningful. Especially in today's workplace, meaningful rewards will go beyond any sort of traditional recognition, reward, award, whatever. The key to a successful rewards and recognition program will lie in the ability for you to resonate with the employees, so you get to know your employees. That's super important. And this is not just a one-person job. It's not a job from HR only. Every employee is responsible for contributing to this and to make this actually happen. And rewards are only meaningful if the recognitions behind them are truly thoughtful. And it doesn't mean it has to be long or complex, like the actual recognition. It just means that you're including one key element that I always, whenever I talk to customers, and I do mention this, is emotion. Whenever you touch emotion, is where you see the real power of an award, of a recognition, or a reward. Generic praises or rewards can feel sometimes transactional even, like great job, Jess. That kind of feels transactional sometimes. But when the recognition is heartfelt, personalized, that's super important, and tied to a real accomplishment, then that's when the reward becomes a lasting reminder of actually being seen and appreciated. So you see how that actually will resonate with the employees versus just something very transactional or something like very common.
I love that,
Yes.
Rodrigo. I think that's a great point that the reward doesn't start with the reward. It actually does start with the recognition piece itself. So I think that's a really great reminder for everybody. So we would love to know, as you're reading through these examples here, so love to hear in the chat, which recognition and reward scenario do you think would resonate the most with an employee? A, B, or C? So A is a heartfelt, personalized note detailing their unique contributions with a gift card to their favorite local coffee shop. B is a generic Employee of the Month announcement, little to no context, and a company branded mug that they already have 5 of already. And then we have C, which is a detailed thank you message from leadership, acknowledging how their work impacted a major project. And it comes with a curated experience like a cooking class or a concert ticket. Seeing lots of answers flow in here. Let's see what we all have. Okay, we got some C's, we got some A or C. Yeah, C, C, A or C. Amazing.
A lot of comments. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these are great. These are great. Okay, so nobody said B. You guys got the right answer. Perfect. So yes, B is obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, but B is the least likely to resonate with an employee. And it speaks to what Rodrigo was talking about before, where the recognition piece itself is that starting point. So if someone receives a generic Employee of the Month announcement, and then they get a company branded mug, and they already have a bunch of them, it's really not going to feel that thoughtful. It's going to feel for the recipient that the person who gave it to them didn't really take much time to give them that recognition. It's going to feel like the person who gave it to them doesn't really know them that well, probably. And it's going to feel like maybe a little bit more of just like something that needed to be done rather than wanting to be done. Whereas I think we can agree that A and C have that emotion that Rodrigo was talking about. And it also has a reward that is more personalized to that person. Pause here for a second in case Rodrigo, anyone else getting a strong echo? Okay, Maya says getting a strong echo. Is anyone else getting a strong echo as well? No, hearing lots of no's. Okay, Maya, it might be on your side. Sometimes I find even just like muting the audio for a second and like turning it back on can change the echo. But you might have to play with it. Okay, yeah, yeah. Try to go out and come back in. That might help as well. But hopefully you can figure it out, Maya. It'd be awesome if we can have you here. Okay, awesome. So now we got thinking a little bit about what scenarios are going to be more resonate with people and some scenarios that might not resonate as much. Thank you everyone for that information. So we are going to move on here to 6 tips to make your rewards more meaningful. So Rodrigo and I have come up with these really awesome tips. These are things that we see work really well amongst the people that we work with. Now, of course, if you have any additional tips beyond these 6, we would love to hear from you. So please do drop them in the chat as we're going through. But I'm going to pass it over to Rodrigo to talk about the first couple tips.
Perfect. Thanks, Jess. And yeah, the tip number 1 would be know your employees. And basically, this is the foundation to any successful rewards program is to understand what your employees really value. And there's a lot of ways that you can find out this information. But it also means taking the time to get to know them, know your team members, not even in your own team, different teams. Get to know them in a personal level, like what motivates them, what do they enjoy, what do they aspire to. Internally, we do one-on-ones. I think that's pretty common across every organization, simply to get to know the employees. Also talk about business, of course. But we do GSRs here, goal setting and review meetings with our teams. And a lot of the discussions are around work. But one thing that I personally always try to do, and I always try to never miss in every single one of these meetings, is to ask my coworker how they're feeling. And that's key. In every time I have one of these meetings, I ask, how are you feeling? How's everything? And I also ask for feedback because, of course, if we're not geniuses, everyone here. So feedback is super important. And that's where you start to get to know the individual, right? You get to know them in a very personal level. You start to build that connection. That's why it's so important to get to know your employees. And then you can do things like social events as well. We have an amazing thing internally called the donut. Every week I get paired randomly with a coworker from a different department, and we just chat about life. And it's amazing. It's a way to get out of the routine. It's super powerful. I actually enjoy that meeting so much. You can also do in-person events, more of an HR perspective, but you can also do pulse surveys. Ask the employees every 6 months specific questions. How do you like to be recognized? What do you like? What would be the perfect reward for you? What are you aiming for? You know, those sort of questions. And then Becca actually shared with us this amazing recognition profile. I don't know if anybody, and you could probably put in your comments, have you seen the this or that cards? I think it's super popular in Instagram and in TikTok, but this is just another very, very creative way that you can share with your employees through an internal communication, and they can send that back to you. You could do this in one-on-ones, but it's just a very fun and creative way to get to know your employees. Now, moving forward to tip number 2, it's the personalization. So personalization is definitely key. One size does not fit all when it comes to rewards. Personalizing rewards to fit individual preferences is when it makes them even more impactful. Whether it's a gift card to their favorite store, extra time off, I know that was a very popular option at the beginning, or even an experience they'll love. So tailoring the rewards shows that you've actually put some effort into recognizing their contributions, you know, giving that little extra. And I'm going to ask a question, and hopefully we're going to see a lot of comments, probably controversial, but who hates coffee? And I would love to see. There we go. There we
Gotta be
go.
someone.
Yes, exactly. Yes, there we go. Awesome. So my question to everyone that answered, what if I give you an award with a Starbucks gift card? Probably you're going to give it to someone else, you know? Yeah, exactly. So you see how personalization is key. Like sometimes I see companies do these mistakes, you know? So it's really important to get to know your employees, right? I've seen sometimes an employee is offered an Uber Eats gift card, but they actually live in an area where there's no Uber Eats service available. Or they get a $500 Costco gift card and you need a membership to use it, you know? So those are the things when you start to deep dive on what making a reward will be meaningful and how the personalization is key. Moving along to tip number 3, timeliness matters. So recognition and rewards are most effective when they're timely. You will probably hear me say this in quarterly business reviews all the time. Yeah, even in onboarding, Jess would probably say that they mention this all the time. But yes, we know time is a very prized possession. However, I do recommend not to wait too long after an achievement or an accomplishment to reward your employee. Immediate recognition actually reinforces the behavior you want to see repeated. If I do something extremely good and I get even a Slack message, you know, that say, amazing job, Rodrigo, that it reinforces that behavior. But if you need to wait for a bit or just for a couple of days, you could use one of my actual personal tips. And you won't believe me, but I have in my calendar, I have reminders that says to recognize a team member. And I'll give you a very specific example. Monday morning, I had a reminder in my calendar to recognize Sarah and our support team for helping our CSMs out this week. And the reason I did that is I didn't have any points left from last week. So these are things that I do that will actually help with the personalization and the meaningful. So yeah, that's super important. Also, you can ask other people to contribute on a recognition, whether it's commenting through Slack, MS Teams, or in a rewards and recognition software like ours. You actually have the ability to boost points. So things that I do is actually call out the team. And I'll give you another very specific example that happened recently. So our product and development team released some amazing new features on our software. And I literally went into Slack and asked the CS team to help me boost the recognition because I didn't have too many points left. So it's just the small things, you know. But in the beginning, we talked about one key thing is the emotion. Because when somebody sees that bit of extra effort you put into a recognition, it's when you're going to see how that actually impacts. And then just a couple more things, tie recognition to daily meetings. And also you can have recognition champions on each team.
Awesome.
Yes,
These are
moving
really,
on to, yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, those are perfect. And I just wanted to also touch on your point there about the calendar reminder. So something we do often hear, especially in regards to leadership and manager and the management team, is the lack of time. We know leadership managers, you know, very busy, they have lots to do, and it often comes up, well, they don't have time. They don't have time. And I think that we want to shift that idea of, oh, there's just no time to do this one extra task, and really change it to be about if we can really recognize and reward our employees in a timely manner, then that's going to have a trickle down effect in so many other ways. We know that recognition helps people be more productive and effective because they know what they're doing and they will continue to do those reinforced behaviors. And then ultimately, those employees are more likely to stay at the company and we don't have to hire and recruit as many. So yes, on a day-to-day, it does take a little bit of time, 5 minutes, you know, out of your day, but the reward behind it is huge. So it's really about building like those systems for people so that they can have the time or find the time, but also understanding the long-term impact here goes way beyond just giving somebody that one recognition. So we have a couple more tips here. So aligning rewards with your company values. So the more that you can align your rewards and the recognition that is paired with it to the company values, it really helps to reinforce your company culture. And once again, it gives those rewards a deeper meaning. So a really great example of this, and we see this in a lot of our nonprofit companies, is nonprofit companies or companies that really value things like philanthropy, giving back to the community. They will often have rewards that are aligned with that. So they will often have rewards like being able to donate their points or donate their rewards, whether that is internally to other people in the organization or outwards. They'll have volunteer opportunities available for folks. So once we're able to really tie everything in together, like we said, it really reinforces that company culture and it just makes that reward even more valuable. So thinking about your company values and coming up with rewards that can align are going to be useful for you. Two more tips here. So relating rewards to the role or the job that people are doing. So if we tie rewards to specific job related achievements, it ensures that the recognition is also aligned with the contributions to help drive the business success. So for example, here we can tie recognition and awards into things like KPIs, for example, like a dynamic duo award, where maybe several people on different teams are collaborating with one another or hitting their KPIs. Recognition and rewards for doing your job. I always love to mention this one. This one, people feel very strongly one way or another about this one, about should we even reward people for doing their job? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we should be recognizing and rewarding people for the baseline level of what their job is. And the reason for that is one, how else are people supposed to know if they're actually doing a good job if we don't tell them that in the first place? So the more that we can actually inform people, yes, you are doing a great job, and here's the reward to match with it, it's going to reinforce that. Additionally, it is going to encourage people to then take that next step to go and above and beyond. Now, sometimes people won't go above and beyond. That's just not their personality. That's not how they like to roll. They want to just do their job, but it's still going to help reinforce that behavior for them to do their job really well. So definitely don't shy away from recognizing and rewarding folks for just, I shouldn't say just doing their job, but for doing their job. And then, of course, having job and department related rewards is also very helpful as well. So, for example, marketing team hits a really big goal, maybe providing them with like a major industry conference ticket so that the whole marketing team can go to a conference together instead of maybe them having to pay out of pocket. So thinking about things like that is also going to be helpful for your rewards program. And then we have one more tip here, which we're going to see this tip pop up a couple of different times, involving your team. So this is a really important piece because the more that you can involve your team in your rewards and recognition program, the more meaningful it is going to be for them. The program is for everybody as a whole, and it's really, really useful when employees can have a say in it. When they have a say, they tend to feel more valued, they feel more appreciated, they feel more engaged, and then they will feel more likely to also engage in the recognition and reward program as well. So you can involve your team lots of different ways: pulse surveys, suggestion boxes, interactive polls, rewards wish lists, recognition committees, things like that are all very useful. Now, the next piece with that is actually doing something with the information that you receive. A lot of times companies will survey employees and then they don't do anything with the information that is surveyed. And this can be very discouraging for employees and can actually skew future survey results because people don't feel empowered to give their opinion because they know nothing is actually going to happen anyways. So no, it doesn't mean necessarily taking all the information and making all the changes and implementing everything, but it certainly does mean acknowledging the information that has come in and seeing what will fit and making those necessary changes. And then that way people will feel inclined to give their opinion in the future and feel engaged with the rewards and recognition.
And a comment I'll say about this actually ties into what I started discussing first, to get to know the employees, get to know your team members. This is another way of how you could do this, involve them in this process.
Yes, exactly. Love that. All right, back
Perfect.
to you, Rodrigo. Yep.
Thanks, Jess. So this is what we're really here for. So the idea here is to discuss what you can use as end of year rewards within your company, basically different types of categories, examples of rewards that you could use. So if you don't mind moving on to the next slide. Perfect. So one reward idea is a reward focused on an experience. And an experience doesn't mean, well, it could be skydiving, for example, right? But this is when it's super critical to know your employee. But the idea here is give them the gift of choice to make like an employee's dreams come true, to check off that bucket list item. And then experiences also allow you to customize a reward for the recipient while also staying within the budget, right? I've seen, for example, packages being built to go to the movie theaters, you know. It's how you position the reward itself. And then another great way is another great thing from an experience reward is that the employee can actually share this experience with friends, with family, and even coworkers sometimes. And these actually allows the employer to take care of the employee and their friends and family, nurturing that relationship and building that company culture even more. And we have some pretty cool examples in here. So Marlisa, one of our amazing CSMs here, she actually went to Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, with her now husband to do a turtle release, which was a super powerful experience. But then the most powerful part is she actually got engaged at that moment. Kudos to her husband because it was an amazing experience for her, right? And yeah, this was an experience that was given to her through a bucket list benefit. And then Becca went to a Renaissance fair. She also used her. There you go. Becca's typing in the comments there. And I was actually super interested in that. But yeah, a Renaissance fair. And I'm pretty sure it was an amazing experience for Becca there. And then Jennifer, it's one of our amazing customers. She actually used a reward she got on her trip to Tokyo. And I need to read this down because it's a little bit confusing, but she went to the Sakura blooming event at the Shinjuku Garden in Tokyo. So I was actually Googling that, and it's just an amazing experience. It's those kind of experience that make very great memories, you know. So this is just one example, an experience to make an employee's dream come true. One of my dreams, my bucket list item is actually go to the Philippines to a place called El Nido. I really enjoy scuba diving, so hopefully that will be on my bucket list next year. Yeah,
I'm taking notes, Rodrigo. Don't worry.
I'm gonna start communicate that internally. And then another idea, it's gift cards. They're super practical. They're very convenient, but then also variety. Gift cards allow employees to get something they need, like Jess was mentioning before, groceries. They're super important. Like I use my points towards groceries all the time. Gas, I use that all the time. You know, Uber Eats. I'm very lazy sometimes, and I don't want to cook dinner. So I just use Uber Eats gift cards. So yeah, it gives you that option of choice. And one thing that I did wanted to ask so that we can interact a little bit here. If you don't type in the comment, what do you think it's the most redeemed gift card? And yes, I see. See, yes. There we go. Most redeemed gift card. Jess, if we move to the
Oh,
next bit.
sorry, I was watching all the answers come in.
Yes, everybody's right. Of course, it's the biggest online shop in the world. And now a question for everyone is, what are the next 4 most redeemed gift cards? What do you think? And let's give probably like 30 seconds to see all these answers. Visa, Starbucks, yeah, Uber Eats.
Like some of these people have seen our answers before.
Yes. I don't know if Becca shared the deck with everyone here. But yeah, if we go to the next slide, you'll see this. Yes, spot on. So the most redeemed items, Amazon, Visa, Esso, I told you, gas, Starbucks, and Walmart, groceries. You can see these are all like pretty much basic necessities. It's a huge benefit for an employee to get a gift card because they actually could use it towards a need, you know. So yeah, those are our top 5 most redeemed items. Starbucks, Visa, Esso, Amazon, and Walmart.
The other thing, Rodrigo, before we move on, sorry to cut you off there. The
Yeah.
other thing that I really like about gift cards, and it also relates to what you said about experiences, is the ability for someone to share it with other people, right? Like if you give somebody a Visa gift card and maybe they don't need to use it right now, but they have a family member's birthday coming up, you've now given that employee the ability to essentially like re-gift their gift to somebody else or to maybe take some financial burden off themselves to be able to buy a nicer gift for someone else. So it really opens up the doors for the collaboration, the sharing, for the item to really extend beyond the person that it was just initially given to. And it's really powerful for people.
I saw in the comments, Visa is exactly that. Visa basically gives you access to pretty much any store worldwide. It's like cash on your hands. So yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome. And then another big one, you can give the gift of retail. So Amazon. So something you really need. And here I'm probably going to brag a little bit about our product because we recently released a pretty amazing new Amazon integration, which you can pretty much purchase anything from the Amazon Prime catalog directly from our platform. And I just want to share a story of how important this has been for me. I'm a huge golfer, not that good. I'm a very amateur golfer, but I do enjoy playing it. So I was legit with my cousin in the golf course, and I probably lost 10 golf balls. And I said, I have some points left. So I went into the app on the golf course and started to search for the golf balls. And I redeemed for them, and I got them the next day. And I went again to the golf course, right? So yeah, it's super convenient. You do it right from the platform. And yeah, it's convenience in the end for the employee. So yeah, that's what I redeemed. And I think I've redeemed like already almost like 6 packs of golf balls. I lose a lot of golf balls. So awesome. Moving on to the next reward. And I think Jess, you're talking about this one.
Yeah. Although, Rodrigo, you got to get better at golfing so you don't have to redeem so
Yeah.
many golf balls.
I need more points.
Okay, the next one. This is like Becca said at the beginning, this is always a question we get is company specific, low to no cost redeemable items. So one thing I really like to point out here is that it's not really about the cost of the reward. Like we've talked about, it is really the how personal the reward feels, how personal the recognition feels. And when those pieces are in place, how much the reward itself cost doesn't really matter. And I think that we could probably all agree in this sense. For example, like I have a daughter, some of the best things I've gotten in life are from her, and they're just drawings that she has made at home and didn't cost anything. But the value lies in the fact that she sat down to make the drawing, she picked all my favorite colors, and she wanted to give that to me. So when we think about, oh, maybe the budget doesn't allow for costly rewards, or we don't have access to those types of things, that's okay. We can certainly still have a really successful program with awesome rewards that don't cost a lot or don't cost anything. So just as some examples here, a big one that we had heard in the comments before were PTO days, half day Fridays. This is really valuable for people who don't have paid time off, or for companies that don't have a lot of time off as well. Sometimes companies can only offer minimal amounts of time. So allowing people to redeem 4 more days off is really a great idea. If you're in person, things like VIP parking, swapping offices with somebody else, getting to have an office for a week, things like that are really helpful. Home office upgrades are also amazing. Wellness packages, pieing your boss in the face, learning from a leader. I already said swapping offices. Some really great ideas here. And we can see on the screen, I've actually pulled a couple from one of our companies that uses Bucketlist. Just some really awesome ideas. Like the one at the bottom here, the Theme Day Maestro. This costs, for the company, costs nothing, but it allows a person to pick a theme day for the office and get everybody to dress up. And that has such a lasting effect, as that's something people are going to remember. They're going to talk about that later. They're going to have pictures about it, and that's really impactful for folks. Now, if you are interested in having more low to no cost ideas, then you can check out that resource section right at the bottom of your screen. We do have a lovely PDF that you can download. So definitely check out those ideas there. And like I said at the beginning, it's really about relating the reward to the recognition and why that person is receiving it. And that's the impact. So don't worry if your budget is lower, or if you don't have a budget for rewards personally, you can still come up with lots of great ideas for people. And this photo always, this theme day maestro photo always gets me. If somebody, Rodrigo, I'm gonna volunteer you to get that wig. I think it'll look great on you.
I will. And just as a side note, Ivy, my handicap it's 18, and I definitely agree. Next time I'm gonna redeem for golf lessons instead. Yes, that's a really good idea.
But I think one thing that I think is really important to highlight here is that now we know Rodrigo loves golf, right? Like that really opens the door to what type of rewards we can give Rodrigo. Now that we know that we can give him golf lessons, we can have him go to different like golf courses. Like once you start to know your employees a lot more, and this is where managers come into play, especially as well, because especially if you're in a larger company, it's really hard to know people one-on-one personally, but the more we know, the more we can tailor. Okay, company swag. So this is always a big one, of course. So company swag is awesome. You can recognize employees who've gone above and beyond, especially when it relates to company values being represented. That's a really great opportunity to tie in somebody displaying those values, and then swag can go with it. It's a very good thing to pair together. So thinking about customized company swag, such as branded apparel, high quality water bottles, tech gadgets, things like that. So of course, if you are a Bucketlist user, we do have our own internal swag vendor, and we do take care of all of the fulfillment on our side. So if you are looking to add swag to your program and you want to learn more, please do reach out to us and we would love to discuss it more. And one thing I did want to highlight with swag is it can be really meaningful. And then it can also be like that example in the beginning where I said, oh, you give an employee another mug, and then next year they get another mug. And then that's just kind of how the trend continues. Those are the things we want to avoid. We do want to be, trying to make the rewards related to the person and make them personalized. And we also want to avoid giving somebody the same reward over and over, like a mug, where, how many mugs does somebody really need? But a good example of how it can be very meaningful is actually from myself and Becca. It's actually between Becca and I. So I had received a mug last year out of the blue, just shipped to my home. We work remotely, so it just showed up at my house one day. And it was really meaningful to me that Becca took the time to send this to me. And I know that she had to, get my address, she had to get the mug and get it all prepared and everything. And the work that it took her to do that felt really meaningful for me. So I actually really appreciated receiving that mug, and I still use it. It is actually this mug we see up here. It is from our recognition week last year. It's a great mug, but it just goes to show that swag can be still very personalized. We just have to take that extra step to know our employees and ensuring that we are giving them swag that they would really like. Now, another thing that we actually do here at Bucketlist, and if you use the platform, this is something that you can do, is having people, giving people options of what to pick for their swag. So instead of saying everybody gets a mug, regardless if you want the mug or not, here's 5 different options. And then people can go in and select which one that they actually would like. And that's also another great way to ensure that it's personalized and still fits within your budget of what you can offer for the swag. Okay, we have charitable donation. So give the gift of giving. So this is really to honor those who believe in giving back to the community, people who are really into philanthropy. So we do want to highlight here a company, Procogia, where they celebrated their 10-year anniversary, and they did what was called 10 days of giving. So they wanted to celebrate the milestone by giving back to the community as a team. So this is actually here on the right-hand side, and a little bit of information you can read about what they did there. So Procogia basically had that 10 days of giving, where as a team, they were able to go through and support different charities and different organizations and different volunteer work and things like that. So this is one of those things where, like I said before, if you are a company that's really into philanthropy and giving back, or if you have employees who are like that, this is going to resonate with them a lot. Now, the other thing that I really want to mention here, and I actually saw a couple of these comments before, is giving back to your own employees. So we do have some examples of other companies where an employee had a tree fall on his car. And we all know that car repairs are very expensive. So they actually set up a way in the platform for folks to donate their points to that person so that they could get their car fixed. Another example is a woman who unfortunately was going through chemo for cancer, and she had to take an Uber to the hospital, and it was costing her hundreds of dollars to take her Uber back and forth. So the company did the same type of thing where they set up the ability for folks to donate their own points to that woman to help her with her Uber rides. So giving back can certainly be external, but it can also be internal. And I think it's really impactful when it's internal, is it's really, taking care of your employees and helping each other take care of one another.
And one thing that I do want to highlight here is those sort of like initiatives, help an employee that's going through a tough time. You touch the key element, emotion. If you receive a reward coming from all the employees that they join together to help you, that's extremely powerful. And something that that employee, even though if they leave the company, they will always remember that.
Yeah. Yes, always. I did see some comments before about, I think someone had said like a family member passing and helping out there, but you're right, Rodrigo, it really is that emotion and people will remember that forever.
Forever.
And these are also the types of things, right? Like when employees feel taken care of personally in their work environment, they're much more likely to stay. So just keeping that in mind, that it does help with retention as well. Okay, we have one more idea here. So learning and development. So this still, as we talked about, this really goes hand in hand with knowing your employees personally, understanding what types of things they're interested in, where they want to grow professionally, and then providing opportunities for them to grow there. So of course, there's things like LinkedIn Learning subscription, professional webinars, conference budgets, things like that, shadowing leaders, engaging in mentorship. So this really helps empower people to develop their careers while contributing to the company's success. And it doesn't have to be just learning and development related to their role either. Like if your employees have interests outside of their direct role and they're interested in learning other things, you can also provide other learning and development opportunities for them as well. Okay, so we've gone through lots of different ideas. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat that I haven't checked out yet, but we're going to keep moving along here to talk about how to successfully celebrate the successes of 2024. That is a tongue twister. I'm going to go over to you, Rodrigo, to intro this part.
Yes. So we've talked about all these ideas. It's the year end, but now what? Right. So it's super important to celebrate the successes of what happened in the full year, in all the year, because you start giving more clarity to the employees. It sets expectation for the next year, and it's just an amazing way to end the year.
Perfect. So Rodrigo basically covered all of that, but I do want to just add a little bit more here about why it is helpful. Also, I really love this picture. I really hope that this has made someone else smile because when I saw this picture, it really brought a lot of joy to my day. So yeah, we definitely do want to recap the years if possible. It really helps strengthen our connection, drive your motivation, and sets your team up for a productive and energized start to the year. So we do want to hear from you. How would you celebrate 2024, or how have you recapped and celebrated the years past? Everyone wants to throw an idea in the chat about that. See if we got anything coming in. Oh, Ivy says she loves the picture. I also love the picture. See if anyone says anything. Becca says a get together is nice. Katie says not sure, not a problem. We're going to come with some ideas in a couple of seconds. All right, well, we'll give some ideas now. And oh, team lunch. I did see a team lunch there. It's awesome.
Perfect. So a couple of ideas for everyone. They have a year end get together. It could be a virtual or in person. It's just a great way to, break the ice. Everything's done. All the accomplishments have been done. You get together with all your teammates. It's just an amazing experience. And you can do things also like I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen Spotify Wrapped. You get all the songs you've listened throughout the year, what's the most played artist, the most played song, and all that. You can tie that in to actual accomplishments, to recognitions, to awards. So that's just another way. And just if you don't mind going to the next slide, just to show an example of how this was actually done. So this was done by a client in their platform, and they actually communicated this. And it's just a great way for everyone to see all the great accomplishments. Sometimes companies will be siloed, so you only see accomplishments from your team. But here you get to see how many recognitions happened throughout the year, how many points have been awarded, and how many donations happened, so a very powerful messaging there. And then also who were the top redeemers, who were the top likers, top commenters. It's just a great way to interact with one another and just to see basically the power that your rewards and recognition program has and all the accomplishments that have been made throughout the organization. And yeah, as I said, you can highlight things like notable achievements, milestones, and also just memorable events. And an idea for you, it's an actual award ceremony. We've seen customers do this in person and virtually. And you can do things in here like recognize your top performers in the teams with performance-related awards, like, for example, Most Innovative Project, Team Spirit Award. But also you could do fun and creative ones, like I mentioned before, Top Redeemer of the Year. Who redeemed the most? That's actually pretty fun to know, right? The Office Comedian of the Award of the Year, the Social Butterfly Award for the person that attended every single social event. Those are really fun ways to interact with the employees. And then, of course, you get to do also, you can do games, like in-person games, virtual events, social times. And the one that I think that's super important, and the example that we showed from the customer, you can also share the vision for 2025. It could be like in an end of year town hall or conference, but that sets the expectation for what's going to come in the next year. So that's super important. And this is just a couple of ideas that you could use. Jess, over to you.
I love that. It actually reminds me, I can't remember if this was earlier this year, maybe last year, but we did do like a recap where they told us who did had the most comments on the platform. Not to brag, but it was myself. Now, I share that because learning that made me like a little bit competitive. I'm like, okay, so I was acknowledged last year as having the most comments. I'm like, okay, now I have to keep that. So it does like incentivize people when they know this information. It can be like an incentive for people to be more engaged as well. And it's also just really cool to see all of the things that have happened, where people have spent their points or what they have redeemed or where the donations have gone. It's just really nice for people to have that overview and really recap what has gone on for the last year.
Just now I'm going to try to be the most polite of the
Oh,
year.
I had a feeling too. I know Ivy's on the call, and I have this like subtle feeling here that Ivy's going to now try to compete with me, but it's okay. A little healthy competition is good for us. Okay, so refreshing your program for 2025. So why would you want to actually refresh your recognition and rewards program? So of course, by gathering your team insights, updating your any outdated elements, and introducing innovative rewards, you get to keep your recognition meaningful, motivate your team, and drive greater engagement and success. So what does this actually look like? How can you actually refresh what you are doing? I'll pass it back to you, Rodrigo.
Oh, I know I've been talking about knowing your employees, getting feedback one-on-ones, but plain and simple, ask your employees for their input. This could be pulse surveys on one-on-ones, on huddles every week, but gather the insight from your team to ensure that the rewards and the program itself aligns with their needs and the business, and then also their preferences. So this is key to how to refresh your program for the next year, because it's going to you already have 12 months of traction of seeing how the program went, what worked, what didn't, what could be improved, what came out of it, and also if you use a software like ours, there's going to be new features, so reach out to your CSM, ask what's out there. CSMs usually proactively are gonna tell you like what new features are available. So yeah, get the input from your employees. And then also update the program. Things as simple as just change the logo. If you are now Great Place to Work certified, add that logo to your program. You know, you can do very simple things like that. Change the branding a bit. Do something seasonal, like you could put some graphics in your program in the actual software based on the season for like the new year or something. And you can also introduce new awards for like wellness achievements, professional development. You can tie these with new KPI related awards, and also create new team challenges to start the year fresh with a clear vision of what's next. And then, as I mentioned before, whenever there's new features available, you can introduce new rewards. Like, for example, in our case, this Amazon integration, you can add new company specific items through pulse surveys. Once you get the feedback from your employee, and you can add these type of company specific items based on that feedback. And then another way to refresh your program, you share the vision. I mentioned before, end of year, you do a town hall, and that's where you basically wrap up everything that happened throughout the year, and then you clearly communicate what the new program looks like, the vision, what are the expectations, what there should be the achievements, the accomplishments that employees would be aiming for, to start fostering a culture of recognition since day one. You know, it's never too early to communicate things internally with your employees. I'm always mentioning this with customers. Communication and transparency is critical for the success of any sort of reward and recognition program.
Amazing. Okay, we have a few more minutes here. We do want to wrap up so that we can keep moving on to the next ones. Now, it wouldn't be a recognition session if we did not recognize some people on the call here. So we do have 3 questions coming up. So get your typing fingers ready. If you are the first person to answer one of these 3 questions, you get to win an awesome swag prize. Now, I know that I have my eye on this water cup here, and I know Rodrigo has his eye on the baseball hat, so lots of good stuff. So question number 1, we have, what swag items were shown on the swag slide when we talked about company swag? There were 3 items. That's my clue for you.
There's a lot of comments. Probably we're not. Yeah, let me see. Becca, we're probably gonna take this away, but thank you. Yeah, let me see.
We're gonna have to look through probably to find out who was the very first person.
Yes, we record all of that, so don't worry about it. But yes.
Yes. All right. So whoever was the first person to say it was a mug, it was a shirt and a towel. So Becca's going to be looking into who that first person is, and then we'll make sure that we connect with you so that you can pick which item you would like to receive. And sorry, it was the items from that first screen I showed you, not these ones. Okay, we ready? We got the second question coming. This should be an easy one. What did Rodrigo redeem from Amazon and continues to redeem?
Yes, I think I talked too much about this, but yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, yes, you got it. The golf balls, the golf balls. Easy, easy, easy. I don't know if these are the ones you get, but there's a picture of some golf balls.
They're yellow, but yes.
Oh, amazing. Okay, last but not least, what are the 5 most redeemed gift cards that we talked about? Everyone, a couple seconds here. All right, lots of different answers coming in. A lot of you can type very fast.
Yes, it's impressive.
All right, for the sake of time here, of course, it was Amazon, Starbucks, Visa, Walmart, and a good old Esso gas station. Okay. Just as a end part here before I pass it back to Becca, I'm not going to spend much time here, but some just key takeaways really to think about is the meaningfulness behind the reward starts with the recognition itself. The more that you can have personalized rewards, the more impactful that they will be for your employees. And then, of course, being open to adapting and changing your program over time to fit the changing needs of your employees.